Prime Minister Modi, of course, we had tracked developments that he was at the ISRO headquarters, and there are certain live developments that are coming in. You can see that he's met the ISRO chairman as well as the team involved in the Chandrayaan 3 mission. Right there on your screens, viewers, you can see Prime Minister Modi greeting the ISRO chairman, patting him on his back, greeting other scientists involved in this mission who have worked day in and day out to ensure that our third lunar mission is a success. Of course, some time back I was showing you visuals of that very successful mission, our Chandrayaan rover roving on the moon, leaving imprints of our nation on the moon. And here you have it, Prime Minister Modi visiting the ISRO scientists and interacting with them. Meanwhile, I'd like to rope in Wing Commander Sudhakaran back into the discussion. Sir, of course, we've just shown our viewers those very visuals of the Chandrayaan rover, and my colleague was also informing that there are certain other maneuvers that will take place today regarding the rover. We got to know yesterday that it sort of roved on the moon for about 8 meters. And right now it is also slated to conduct in situ experiments. So how excited are you for the data that we might get? Do you think that there is a possibility that India might get some groundbreaking data, considering we are exploring the south pole of the moon?
See, if you look at from the technology perspective, there is nothing earth-shattering that we are going to do there. But it is very important that we are able to do it in the lunar base. That is more important because it is not something that somebody else has not already done. Yes, we are going to get samples, and we are going to be able to do, engage in a lot of research and development activity based on what is going to be carried out there. To me, what is more important is the technology that has got unveiled. Like yesterday, I had written an article for one of the prominent papers, and what has come out in that is, and what I wanted to stress is, this is going to unleash a new era of robotic revolution in this country. When the youngsters are going to see the Chandrayaan run over in the moon's surface, they would want to get involved with that. And I call the Chandrayaan 3 mission as the World Cup moment for India. It was only when India won the World Cup in 1984 that the cricket revolution in India really started. That's when the Sachin Tendulkars and the Virat Kohlis were produced. Today, we are a superpower in world cricket. We need to be a technology superpower if we need to really be a world power by any stretch of our imagination by 2047. And this is what we've been contemplating. Prime Minister Modi has directed the scientific community of this country to bring out a roadmap which will actually take us to that position of being a Vishwaguru. To be a Vishwaguru, you need a technology guru. And if in case you need to be a technology guru, you need to actually master only 3 technologies. One is quantum AI. It is not even the AI that we're talking about. It is a leap forward, right? We need to understand and master quantum AI. Second is we need to actually be right up there, talk about quantum robotics. And quantum is the common denominator in both these things, which we are yet to even get into the race with. We have to understand that the way that China has gone about developing its AI infrastructure, US is scared about China, and that's why it has started banning and denying China a lot of technologies which would actually help it go there. But it cannot be for far too long, because the very nature of this technology is it can build technology, in a self-contained loop. That's the beauty of, when we talk about quantum AI and things like that. That is where we need to research. And India is, like in the last 10 years, ISRO alone has almost more than doubled its budget. By around 2013, it was operating somewhere in the realm of 850 million for its entire program. And by 2023, Prime Minister Modi has already upped it to 1.9 billion or 2 billion or thereabout. We will again see an increased funding. But what India needs to do is, the ISROs and DRDOs are not good enough to, accelerate our technology race, because our demography is simply too vast. We can't put the complete demography and give them employment in the DRDO and the HALs and the ISROs. We need private entities to step up. The Lockheed Martins, the Boeings, the Airbus, they need to come of their own in India. And we need private players to step up big time, because they are the ones who are going to really deliver. It's not the state-based, because please understand, when you're going to select for a DRDO or an ISRO, the selection process is not any different. It is just a normal selection process wherein people are expected to deliver, and it's a 9-to-5 job. And these kind of an environment often lull people into a state of laid back attitude, which never will help you get that required run rate for you to actually match up with what China does or what US does or Europe does. So that is where the private entities have to come of their own. They need to get a good environment and ecosystem that needs to be tailor-made for them, because deep tech and stealth tech, I've been telling this, the biggest flaw in our startup environment is you take a grocery startup or a transportation startup as the same as a deep tech and a stealth tech. You need to understand deep tech and stealth tech need to be nurtured very differently. They need to be funded very differently. And they are the foundational basis for India's technology revolution, if it were to happen in the next 2 decades. Yes, the people need to keep one thing in mind. They need to ensure the political stability that India has got in the last 10 years. There are a lot of hitman job done by the Western media, like the New York Times and the Washington Post and the BBCs. They will come up with documentaries. They will come up with Hindenburg Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. They will target your big industries. They will try to unleash a smear campaign on the political leadership of this country. We need the maturity to be able to see all this through. And we need to ensure that we have absolute political stability in a leader that we can trust, who will actually deliver for this country. If that were to happen, I am pretty sure the bureaucracy will find time and put policies in place wherein the Startup India, the Stand Up India, the Skill India missions will find their feet and then take technology to the next level where it should be. That is where India, see, the competition today is between India, US and China. Rest, everyone has fallen out. Maybe we can collaborate with the US for some time, but not beyond a certain point. The moment US realizes that you are going to race beyond US, they are going to brittle you as well. But the real fight here today, as on date as we speak, is with China. And if you need to fight that beast, you need to be united together. You can't have the principal opposition having a clandestine deal and the people not even knowing what is happening with there. We cannot unleash a disinformation campaign saying that this much land has gone out and that much land has gone out without, putting out what has actually happened on ground. And so does it happen to technology also. We need to keep the morale of our scientists high. We can't afford to have a Nambi Narayan kind of an episode again ever in this country. We need to protect our rocket scientists. We need to protect our military scientists so that we get technology, because the West doesn't want you to get there. The moment you get there, a significant portion of your import spending is going to come down, which means rupee is going to get strengthened. And please understand, Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein were taken down not because they had nuclear weapons or chemical or biological weapons, because they talked about a petrodollar. Today, Modi is walking down the same path by actually making the rupee stronger. He is actually creating a bilateral agreement wherein Indian rupee can be traded. These could be very, very significant steps in India's journey to technology and world leadership, which the West probably wouldn't want. This is what our country should understand. The countrymen also should understand the political system in this country put the currency for sale. That's why we needed a demonetization policy. Modi could have never come in the open and told you why he had to undergo, take up the drastic measure of demonetizing this currency, because your currency was being printed in Pakistan. As much as 30% of a currency was running in black money. We couldn't have told him this in public domain because the rupee could have crashed. And therefore, it had to be a calibrated, cautious approach. All those steps have been taken. Now it's a step for consolidation for us. And for consolidating, we need a political stability in this country. And the countrymen need to understand their duty while they choose for elections, not get into freebies. And once we do this, the youth in this country will find employment in technology sectors. That is where a large number of private startups will start to find. And when you have an increased budget in the technology realm, we will then understand that what kind of a potential we can unleash on the world.
Indeed, Wing Commander Sudhakaran, and I'd like to also on that note describe what is going on right now. ISRO chairman is speaking. Let's in fact listen to him.
To congratulate us, to be with us, and thank you so much for your presence during such a historic day. You promised us that you will come and meet us on that day. And you are here, and thank you so much for your gracious presence today amongst us. And today we look forward to your words of wisdom, your vision, your expectation from us, and for all those words we are at ears to you. Honorable Pradhan Mantri ji, आपको मेरा स्वागत इसरो में ये कंट्रोल सेंटर में. Thank you, sir. So we are seeing the ramp being deployed now. This is animation. We'll see the real. Next solar panel of the ramp of the rover Pragyan opens. Then it establishes communication with the lander. Yeah. Then it slowly comes out. Now the rover has already moved 12 meters. So we'll see the onboard camera visuals. So this is a camera mounted on the side just before the ramp deployment. So what you're seeing is the deployment of the ramp with the rover mounted on that. The solar panel of the rover is deployed already and it is getting released and moving towards moon cell. So these images take a lot of time to come to Earth because data rate and processing. So now this is the early morning image of today morning. The rover is almost out of the field of view. It will turn in the day today and look at the lander and take more pictures. Thank you. It shows the Indian flag on the wall.
नमस्कार फ्रेंड्स, आप सभी के बीच आकर आज एक अलग ही खुशी महसूस कर रहा हूं। शायद ऐसी खुशी बहुत रेयर ओकेजन होते हैं जब तन मन खुशियों से भर गया हो। और व्यक्ति के जीवन में कई बार ऐसी घटनाएं घटती हैं कि वो बेसब्री हावी हो जाती है। इस बार मेरे साथ भी ऐसा ही हुआ है। इतनी बेसब्री, मैं साउथ अफ्रीका में था, फिर ग्रीस का कार्यक्रम था तो वहां चला गया, लेकिन मेरा मन पूरी तरह आपके साथ ही लगा हुआ था। लेकिन कभी कभी लगता है कि मैं आप लोगों के साथ अन्याय कर देता हूं। बेसब्री मेरी और मुसीबत आपकी। इतनी सवेरे सवेरे आप सभी को, और इतना और टाइम, लेकिन बस मन कर रहा था जाऊं आपको नमन करूं। आपको दिक्कत हुई होगी, लेकिन मैं भारत में आते ही जल्द से जल्द आपके दर्शन करना चाहता था। आप सबको सैल्यूट करना चाहता था। सैल्यूट आपके परिश्रम को, सैल्यूट आपके धैर्य को, सैल्यूट आपकी लगन को, सैल्यूट आपकी जीवटता को, सैल्यूट आपके जज्बे को। आप देश को जिस ऊंचाई पर लेकर गए हैं, ये कोई साधारण सफलता नहीं है। ये अनंत अंतरिक्ष में भारत के वैज्ञानिक सामर्थ्य का शंखनाद है। India is on the moon. We have our national pride placed on the moon. हम वहां पहुंचे जहां कोई नहीं पहुंचा था। हमने वो किया जो पहले कभी किसी ने नहीं किया था। ये आज का भारत है, निर्भीक भारत, जुझारू भारत। ये वो भारत है जो नया सोचता है, नए तरीके से सोचता है, जो डार्क जोन में जाकर भी दुनिया में रोशनी की किरण फैला देता है। इक्कीसवीं सदी में यही भारत दुनिया की बड़ी बड़ी समस्याओं का समाधान करेगा। मेरी आंखों के सामने 23 अगस्त का वो दिन, वो एक एक सेकंड बार बार घूम रहा है। जब टचडाउन कंफर्म हुआ तो जिस तरह यहां इसरो सेंटर में पूरे देश में लोग उछल पड़े, वो दृश्य कौन भूल सकता है। कुछ स्मृतियां अमर हो जाती है। वो पल अमर हो गया। वो पल इस सदी के सबसे प्रेरणादायी क्षणों में से एक है। हर भारतीय को लग रहा था कि विजय उसकी अपनी है। खुद महसूस करता था। हर भारतीय को लग रहा था कि जैसे वो खुद एक बड़े एग्जाम में पास हो गया है। आज भी बधाइयां दी जा रही है, संदेश दिए जा रहे हैं, और ये सब मुमकिन बनाया है आप सबने, आपने। देश के मेरे वैज्ञानिकों ने ये मुमकिन बनाया है। मैं आप सबका जितना गुणगान करूं वो कम है। मैं आपकी जितनी सराहना करूं वो कम है। साथियों, मैंने वो फोटो देखी जिसमें हमारे मून लैंडर ने अंगद की तरह चंद्रमा पर मजबूती से अपना पैर जमाया हुआ है। एक तरफ विक्रम का विश्वास है तो दूसरी तरफ प्रज्ञान का पराक्रम है। हमारा प्रज्ञान लगातार चंद्रमा पर अपने पद चिन्ह छोड़ रहा है। अलग अलग कैमरों से ली गई जो तस्वीरें अभी रिलीज हुई और मुझे देखने का सौभाग्य मिला, वो अद्भुत है। मानव सभ्यता में पहली बार धरती के लाखों साल के इतिहास में पहली बार उस स्थान की तस्वीर मानव अपनी आंखों से देख रहा है। और ये तस्वीर दुनिया को दिखाने का काम भारत ने किया है। आप सभी वैज्ञानिकों ने किया है। आज पूरी दुनिया भारत की साइंटिफिक स्पिरिट का, हमारी टेक्नोलॉजी का और हमारे साइंटिफिक टेम्परामेंट का लोहा मान चुकी है। चंद्रयान महाअभियान सिर्फ भारत की नहीं बल्कि पूरी मानवता की सफलता है। हमारा मिशन जिस क्षेत्र को एक्सप्लोर करेगा उससे सभी देशों के लिए मून मिशंस के नए रास्ते खुलेंगे। ये चांद के रहस्य को तो खोलेगा ही, साथ ही धरती की चुनौतियों के समाधान में भी मदद करेगा। आपकी इस सफलता के लिए मैं एक बार फिर सभी वैज्ञानिकों को, टेक्नीशियंस, इंजीनियर्स और चंद्रयान महाअभियान से जुड़े सभी सदस्यों को बधाई देता हूं। मेरे परिवारजनों, आप जानते हैं कि स्पेस मिशंस के टच डाउन पॉइंट को एक नाम दिए जाने की वैज्ञानिक परंपरा है। चंद्रमा के जिस हिस्से पर हमारा चंद्रयान उतरा है, भारत ने उस स्थान के भी नामकरण का फैसला लिया है। जिस स्थान पर चंद्रयान 3 का मून लैंडर उतरा है, अब उस पॉइंट को शिव शक्ति के नाम से जाना जाएगा। शिव में मानवता के कल्याण का संकल्प समाहित है और शक्ति से हमें उन संकल्पों को पूरा करने का सामर्थ्य मिलता है। चंद्रमा का शिव शक्ति पॉइंट हिमालय से कन्याकुमारी से जुड़े होने का बोध कराता है। हमारे ऋषियों ने कहा है, येन कर्माण्य पशो मनीषिणो यज्ञे कुण्वन्ति वित्तेषु धीरः यत्पूर्व यक्ष्मन्तः प्रजानां तन्मे मनः शिव संकल्पम अस्तु। अर्थात जिस मन से हम कर्तव्य कर्म करते हैं, विचार और विज्ञान को गति देते हैं और जो सबके भीतर मौजूद है, वो मन शुभ और कल्याणकारी संकल्पों से जुड़े। मन के इन शुभ संकल्पों को पूरा करने के लिए शक्ति का आशीर्वाद अनिवार्य है और ये शक्ति हमारी नारी शक्ति है। हमारी माताएं बहनें हैं। हमारे यहां कहा गया है, सृष्टि स्थिति विनाशानां शक्ति भूते सनातनी। अर्थात निर्माण से प्रलय तक पूरी सृष्टि का आधार नारी शक्ति ही है। आप सबने देखा है, चंद्रयान 3 में देश ने, हमारी महिला वैज्ञानिकों ने, देश की नारी शक्ति ने कितनी बड़ी भूमिका निभाई है। चंद्रमा का शिव शक्ति पॉइंट सदियों तक भारत के इस वैज्ञानिक और दार्शनिक चिंतन का साक्षी बनेगा। ये शिव शक्ति पॉइंट आने वाली पीढ़ियों को प्रेरणा देगा कि हमें विज्ञान का उपयोग मानवता के कल्याण के लिए ही करना है। मानवता का कल्याण, यही हमारा सुप्रीम कमिटमेंट है। साथियों, एक और नामकरण काफी समय से लंबित है। 4 साल पहले जब चंद्रयान 2 चंद्रमा के पास तक पहुंचा था, जहां उसके पदचिन्ह पड़े थे, तब ये प्रस्ताव था कि उस स्थान का नाम तय किया जाए। लेकिन उन परिस्थितियों में निर्णय लेने के स्थान पर हमने प्रण लिया कि जब चंद्रयान 3 सफलतापूर्वक चांद पर पहुंचेगा, तब हम दोनों पॉइंट का नाम एक साथ रखेंगे। और आज मुझे लगता है कि जब हर घर तिरंगा है, जब हर मन तिरंगा है और चांद पर भी तिरंगा है, तो तिरंगा के सिवाय चंद्रयान 2 से जुड़े उस स्थान को और क्या नाम दिया जा सकता है। इसलिए चंद्रमा के जिस स्थान पर चंद्रयान 2 ने अपने पदचिन्ह छोड़े हैं, वो पॉइंट अब तिरंगा कहलाएगा। ये तिरंगा पॉइंट भारत के हर प्रयास की प्रेरणा बनेगा। ये तिरंगा पॉइंट हमें सीख देगा कि कोई भी विफलता आखिरी नहीं होती। अगर दृढ़ इच्छा शक्ति हो तो सफलता मिलकर के ही रहती है। यानी मैं फिर दोहरा रहा हूं, चंद्रयान 2 के पद चिन्ह जहां है, वो स्थान आज से तिरंगा पॉइंट कहलाएगा। और जहां पर चंद्रयान 3 का मून लैंडर पहुंचा है, वो स्थान आज से शिव शक्ति पॉइंट कहलाएगा। साथियों, आज भारत दुनिया का चौथा ऐसा देश बन चुका है जिसने चंद्रमा की सतह को छुआ है। ये सफलता तब और अधिक बड़ी हो जाती है जब हम ये देखते हैं कि भारत ने अपनी यात्रा कहां से शुरू की थी। एक समय था जब भारत के पास जरूरी तकनीक नहीं थी, सहयोग भी नहीं था। हमारी गिनती थर्ड वर्ल्ड यानी थर्ड रॉ में खड़े देशों में होती थी। थर्ड वर्ल्ड थर्ड रॉ में खड़े हुए लोगों में होती थी। वहां से निकलकर आज भारत दुनिया की 5वीं सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था बना है। आज ट्रेड से लेकर टेक्नोलॉजी तक भारत की गिनती पहली पंक्ति यानी फर्स्ट रॉ में खड़े देशों में हो रही है। यानी थर्ड रॉ से फर्स्ट रॉ तक इस यात्रा में इसरो जैसी संस्थानों की बहुत बड़ी भूमिका रही है। आपने आज मेक इन इंडिया को चांद तक पहुंचा दिया है। मेरे परिवारजनों, मैं आज आपके बीच आकर विशेष तौर पर देशवासियों को आपकी मेहनत के बारे में बताना चाहता हूं। जो मैं बातें बता रहा हूं वो आपके लिए नई नहीं है, लेकिन आपने जो किया है जो साधना की है वो देशवासियों को भी पता होना चाहिए। भारत के दक्षिण हिस्से से चंद्रमा के दक्षिणी ध्रुव तक चंद्रयान की ये यात्रा आसान नहीं थी। मून लैंडर की सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग सुनिश्चित करने के लिए हमारे वैज्ञानिकों ने इसरो की रिसर्च फैसिलिटी में आर्टिफिशियल मून तक बना डाला। इस आर्टिफिशियल मून पर विक्रम लैंडर को अलग अलग तरीके से सरफेस पर उतारकर उसका टेस्ट किया गया था। अब इतने सारे एग्जाम देकर हमारा मून लैंडर वहां गया है तो उसे सक्सेस मिलनी ही मिलनी थी। साथियों, आज जब मैं देखता हूं कि भारत की युवा पीढ़ी साइंस को लेकर, स्पेस को लेकर, इनोवेशन को लेकर इतनी एनर्जी से भरी हुई है तो उसके पीछे हमारे ऐसे ही स्पेस मिशंस की सफलता है। मंगलयान की सफलता ने, चंद्रयान की सफलता ने, गगनयान की तैयारी ने देश की युवा पीढ़ी को एक नया मिजाज दे दिया है। आज भारत के छोटे छोटे बच्चों की जुबान पर चंद्रयान का नाम है। आज भारत का हर बच्चा आप वैज्ञानिकों में अपना भविष्य देख रहा है। इसलिए आपकी उपलब्धि सिर्फ ये नहीं है कि आपने चांद पर तिरंगा लहराया, लेकिन आपने एक और बड़ी उपलब्धि हासिल की है और वो उपलब्धि है भारत की पूरी पीढ़ी को जागृत करने की, उसे नई ऊर्जा देने की। आपने एक पूरी पीढ़ी पर अपनी इस सफलता की गहरी छाप छोड़ी है। आज से कोई भी बच्चा रात में जब चंद्रमा को देखेगा तो उसको विश्वास होगा कि जिस हौसले से मेरा देश चांद पर पहुंचा है, वही हौसला, वही जज्बा उस बच्चे के भीतर भी है, उस युवा के भीतर भी है। आज आपने भारत के बच्चों में आकांक्षाओं के जो बीज बोए हैं, कल वो वट वृक्ष बनेंगे और विकसित भारत की नींव बनेंगे। हमारी युवा पीढ़ी को निरंतर प्रेरणा मिलती रहे, इसके लिए एक और निर्णय लिया गया है। 23 अगस्त को जब भारत ने चंद्रमा पर तिरंगा फहराया, उस दिन को अब हिंदुस्तान नेशनल स्पेस डे के रूप में मनाया जाएगा। जब हर वर्ष नेशनल स्पेस डे साइंस, टेक्नोलॉजी और इनोवेशन की स्पिरिट को सेलिब्रेट करेगा, हमें हमेशा हमेशा के लिए प्रेरित करता रहेगा। मेरे परिवारजनों, आप भी जानते हैं कि स्पेस सेक्टर का जो सामर्थ्य है वो सैटेलाइट लॉन्च करने या अंतरिक्ष की खोज से कहीं ज्यादा बड़ा है। स्पेस सेक्टर की एक बहुत बड़ी ताकत है जो मैं देखता हूं, वो है ईज ऑफ लिविंग और ईज ऑफ गवर्नेंस। आज देश में स्पेस एप्लीकेशंस को गवर्नेंस के हर पहलू से जोड़ने की दिशा में बहुत बड़ा काम हुआ है। आप लोगों ने जब मुझे प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में काम का दायित्व दिया, तो प्रधानमंत्री बनने के बाद मैंने भारत सरकार के जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी लेवल के ऑफिसर्स की स्पेस साइंटिस्ट के साथ एक वर्कशॉप करवाई थी और इसका मकसद ये था कि गवर्नेंस में, शासन व्यवस्था में ट्रांसपेरेंसी लाने में स्पेस सेक्टर की ताकत का ज्यादा से ज्यादा इस्तेमाल कैसे करें। तब किरण जी शायद हम लोगों के साथ काम करते थे। इसी का नतीजा था जब देश ने स्वच्छ भारत अभियान शुरू किया, शौचालयों का निर्माण शुरू किया, करोड़ों घरों को बनाने का अभियान चलाया, तो इन सब के मॉनिटरिंग के लिए, उसकी प्रगति के लिए स्पेस साइंस ने बहुत मदद की। आज देश में दूर दराज के इलाके में एजुकेशन, कम्युनिकेशन और हेल्थ सर्विसेज पहुंचाने में स्पेस सेक्टर की बहुत बड़ी भूमिका है। इन दिनों आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव के निमित्त जो जिले जिले में अमृत सरोवर बन रहे हैं, उसका भी टैगिंग, उसके भी मॉनिटरिंग स्पेस के द्वारा ही हो रही है। बिना स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजी के हम टेलीमेडिसिन और टेली एजुकेशन की कल्पना तक नहीं कर सकते। स्पेस साइंस ने देश के रिसोर्सेज के ऑप्टिमम यूटिलाइजेशन में भी बहुत मदद की है। हमारे देश के एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर को ताकत देने में, मौसम का अनुमान लगाने में स्पेस सेक्टर जो मदद करता है वो देश का हर किसान जानता है। आज वो देख लेता है अपने मोबाइल पर अगले सप्ताह मौसम का क्या हाल है। देश के करोड़ों मछुआरों को आज नाविक सिस्टम से जो सटीक जानकारी मिल रही है वो भी आप ही की देन है। आज जब देश में बाढ़ आती है, कोई प्राकृतिक आपदा आती है, भूकंप आता है, तो हालात की गंभीरता का पता लगाने में आप सबसे पहले आगे आते हैं। जब साइक्लोन आता है तो हमारी सैटेलाइट्स उसका सारा रूट बताती हैं, सारी टाइमिंग बताती हैं और लोगों की जान भी बचती है, संपत्ति भी बचती है। और सिर्फ साइक्लोन के कारण जो संपत्ति बचती है ना, उसका अगर जोड़ लगा दें तो आज स्पेस का जो खर्चा है उससे वो ज्यादा हो जाता था। हमारे पीएम गतिशक्ति नेशनल मास्टर प्लान का आधार भी स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजी ही है और आज दुनिया भारत के इस गतिशक्ति प्लेटफॉर्म का अध्ययन कर रही है कि प्लानिंग और मैनेजमेंट में ये प्लेटफॉर्म कितना उपयोगी हो सकता है। इससे प्रोजेक्ट्स की प्लानिंग, एजुकेशन और मॉनिटरिंग में काफी मदद मिल रही है। समय के साथ बढ़ता हुआ स्पेस एप्लीकेशन का ये दायरा हमारे युवाओं के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटीज भी बढ़ा रहा है, अवसर बढ़ा रहा है। और इसलिए आज मैं एक सुझाव भी देना चाहता हूं और मैं चाहूंगा कि आपके यहां से जो रिटायर्ड लोग हैं वे इसमें काफी मदद कर सकते हैं। अब ये मत बोलिएगा कि इतनी सुबह सुबह मोदी जी यहां आए और कुछ काम भी दे करके जा रहे हैं। साथियों, मैं चाहूंगा कि इसरो केंद्र सरकार के विभिन्न मंत्रालय और राज्य सरकारें मिलकर गवर्नेंस में स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजी पर एक नेशनल हैकाथॉन का आयोजन करें। इस हैकाथॉन में ज्यादा से ज्यादा युवा, ज्यादा से ज्यादा यूनिवर्सिटी, ज्यादा से ज्यादा नौजवान वो शामिल हो, जुड़े। मुझे विश्वास है ये नेशनल हैकाथॉन हमारी गवर्नेंस को और प्रभावी बनाएगा, देशवासियों को मॉडर्न सॉल्यूशंस देगा। और साथियों, आपके अलावा मैं अपनी युवा पीढ़ी को एक और टास्क अलग से देना चाहता हूं। और होमवर्क के दिए बिना बच्चों को काम करने का मजा नहीं आता है। आप सब जानते हैं कि भारत वो देश है जिसने हजारों वर्ष पूर्व ही धरती के बाहर अनंत अंतरिक्ष में देखना शुरू कर दिया था। हमारे यहां सदियों पहले अनुसंधान परंपरा के आर्यभट्ट, ब्रह्मगुप्त, वराहमिहिर और भास्कराचार्य जैसे ऋषि मनीषी हुए थे। जब धरती के आकार को लेकर भ्रम था, तब आर्यभट्ट ने अपने महान ग्रंथ आर्यभट्टीय में धरती के गोलाकार होने के बारे में विस्तार से लिखा था। उन्होंने एक्सिस पर पृथ्वी की रोटेशन और उसकी परिधि की गणना भी लिख दी थी। इसी तरह सूर्य सिद्धांत जैसे ग्रंथों में भी कहा गया है, सर्वत्रैव महिगोले, सर्वत्रैव महिगोले स्वस्थानम उपरि स्थितम मन्यन्ते खेयतो गोलस तस्य क्व ऊर्ध्वम क्व वादः। अर्थात पृथ्वी पर कुछ लोग अपनी जगह को सबसे ऊपर मानते हैं, लेकिन ये गोलाकार पृथ्वी तो आकाश में स्थित है, उसमें ऊपर और नीचे क्या हो सकता है, ये उस समय लिखा गया था। ये तो मैंने सिर्फ एक श्लोक बताया है। ऐसी अनगिनत रचनाएं हमारे पूर्वजों ने लिखी हुई है। सूर्य, चंद्रमा और पृथ्वी के एक दूसरे के बीच में आने से ग्रहण की जानकारी हमारे कितने ही ग्रंथों में लिखी हुई पाई जाती है। पृथ्वी के अलावा अन्य ग्रहों के आकार की गणनाएं, उनके मूवमेंट से जुड़ी जानकारी भी हमारे प्राचीन ग्रंथों में मिलती है। हमने ग्रहों और उपग्रहों की गति को लेकर इतना सूक्ष्म गणनाएं करने की वो काबिलियत हासिल की थी कि हमारे यहां सैकड़ों वर्ष आगे के पंचांग यानी कैलेंडर्स बनाए जाते थे। इसलिए मैं इससे जुड़ा एक टास्क अपनी नई पीढ़ी को देना चाहता हूं, स्कूल कॉलेज के बच्चों को देना चाहता हूं। मैं चाहता हूं कि भारत के शास्त्रों में जो खगोलीय सूत्र है उन्हें साइंटिफिकली प्रूव करने के लिए नए सिरे से उनके अध्ययन के लिए नई पीढ़ी आगे आए। ये हमारी विरासत के लिए भी जरूरी है और विज्ञान के लिए भी जरूरी है। आज जो स्कूल के, कॉलेज के, यूनिवर्सिटी के स्टूडेंट्स हैं, रिसर्चर्स हैं, उन पर एक तरह से ये दोहरा दायित्व है। भारत के पास विज्ञान के ज्ञान का जो खजाना है वो गुलामी के लंबे कालखंड में दब गया है, छिप गया है। आजादी के इस अमृत काल में हमें इस खजाने को भी खंगालना है, उस पर रिसर्च करनी है और दुनिया को भी बताना है। दूसरा दायित्व ये कि हमारी युवा पीढ़ी को आज के आधुनिक विज्ञान, आधुनिक टेक्नोलॉजी को नए आयाम देने हैं। समंदर की गहराइयों से लेकर आसमान की ऊंचाई तक, आसमान की ऊंचाई से लेकर अंतरिक्ष की गहराई तक आपके लिए करने के लिए बहुत कुछ है। आप डीप अर्थ को भी देखिए और साथ ही डीप सी को भी एक्सप्लोर करिए। आप नेक्स्ट जनरेशन कंप्यूटर बनाइए और साथ ही जेनेटिक इंजीनियरिंग में भी अपना सिक्का जमाइए। भारत में आपके लिए नई संभावनाओं के द्वार लगातार खुल रहे हैं। 21वीं सदी के इस कालखंड में जो देश साइंस और टेक्नोलॉजी में बढ़त बना ले जाएगा, वो देश सबसे आगे बढ़ जाएगा। साथियों, आज बड़े बड़े एक्सपर्ट्स कह रहे हैं कि अगले कुछ वर्षों में भारत की स्पेस इंडस्ट्री $8 बिलियन से बढ़कर $16 बिलियन की हो जाएगी। सरकार भी इस बात की गंभीरता को समझते हुए स्पेस सेक्टर में लगातार रिफॉर्म कर रही है। हमारे युवा भी कमर कसकर तैयार है। आपको जानकर सुखद आश्चर्य होगा कि पिछले 4 साल में स्पेस सेक्टर में काम करने वाले स्टार्टअप की संख्या 4 से बढ़कर करीब करीब 150 हो गई है। हम कल्पना कर सकते हैं कि अनंत आकाश में कितनी अनंत संभावनाएं भारत का इंतजार कर रही हैं। वैसे कुछ दिन बाद 1 सितंबर से माय गॉव हमारे चंद्रयान मिशन को लेकर बहुत बड़ा क्विज कंपटीशन लॉन्च करने वाला है। हमारे देश के स्टूडेंट्स इससे भी शुरुआत कर सकते हैं। मैं देश भर के स्टूडेंट से आग्रह करूंगा कि आप सभी बड़ी संख्या में इससे जुड़े। मेरे परिवारजनों, देश की भावी पीढ़ी को आपका मार्गदर्शन बहुत आवश्यक है। आप जो इतने सारे इंपॉर्टेंट मिशंस पर काम कर रहे हैं, वो आने वाली पीढ़ी ही आगे ले जाने वाली है। आप उन सभी के रोल मॉडल हैं। आपकी रिसर्च और आपकी वर्षों की तपस्या, मेहनत ने साबित किया है कि आप जो ठान लेते हैं वो आप करके दिखाते हैं। देश के लोगों का विश्वास आप पर है और विश्वास कमाना छोटी बात नहीं होती है दोस्तों। आपने अपनी तपस्या से विश्वास कमाया है। देश के लोगों का आशीर्वाद आप पर है। इसी आशीर्वाद की ताकत से, देश के प्रति इसी समर्पण भाव से भारत साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी में ग्लोबल लीडर बनेगा। और मैं आपके बीच बड़े विश्वास के साथ बताता हूं, इनोवेशन की हमारी यही स्पिरिट ही 2047 में विकसित भारत के सपने को साकार करेगी। इसी विश्वास के साथ मैं फिर एक बार आप सबके दर्शन करके पावन हुआ हूं। देशवासी गौरव से भरे हुए हैं। सपने बहुत तेजी से संकल्प बन रहे हैं और आपका परिश्रम उन संकल्प को सिद्धि के तक ले जाने के लिए बहुत बड़ी प्रेरणा बन रहा है। आपको जितनी बधाई दूं कम है, जितना अभिनंदन करूं कम है। मेरी तरफ से करोड़ों करोड़ों देशवासियों की तरफ से, दुनिया भर की साइंटिफिक कम्युनिटी की तरफ से अनेक अनेक धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की। धन्यवाद।
Well, there you have it, viewers. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, addressing the ISRO scientists who made the landing of the Chandrayaan-3 mission on the moon a reality and have made 1.4 billion Indian proud. There you have it, a standing ovation for the Prime Minister and his speech. Of course, the Prime Minister has hailed the success of all these scientists who have worked tirelessly to make us proud. Throughout this speech, Prime Minister Modi has highlighted that he has saluted the perseverance of all these scientists and has stated that they have brought the country to greater heights. Some rather key points that I would like to highlight for our viewers and sort of summarize, of course, was one key point regarding the touchdown point name of the Chandrayaan-3 mission. The Vikram lander's touchdown point will be known as Shiv Shakti. The Prime Minister went on to state that Shiv embodies human will for resolution while Shakti helps facilitate that, and this point will help inspire humanity. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister also spoke about the spot where the Chandrayaan-2 mission had left imprints. This spot will be known as the Tiranga, and it will serve as a source of inspiration to persevere till we all attain success. Highlighting that India is the 5th largest economy of the world, Prime Minister Modi then went on to state how ISRO has played a key role in facilitating India's development. He's spoken about how ISRO's contribution the space sector's contribution has taken Make in India to the moon. It is contributing towards our Gati Shakti mission, towards our Amrit Sarovar mission, towards agriculture, healthcare, disaster relief, and is creating ample amount of opportunities for our youth. Apart from this, Prime Minister Modi has of course ended by reiterating the Vision 2047 for a developed India and has stated that India will be a global leader in science and technology. On that note, I'm being joined by a host of panelists, some who have been sitting with us patiently for a long time and listening to the Prime Minister's speech. Dr. S.R. Chakravarti, who is the IITM Agnikul advisor and a space expert. Professor Janardhan Padmanabhan continues to be with us. Thank you, sir, for waiting rather patiently since morning. Still with us on the broadcast is Mr. Manish Purohit, who is a senior scientist, as well as Srijan Pal, who is the CEO of Homilab, as well as K. Siddhartha, a former ISRO scientist. I'd like to first go to Professor Padmanabhan, who's been waiting with us. Sir, you've heard what the Prime Minister has said. What is your reaction to all those key statements made, especially regarding the touchdown points name?
Well, it is really amazing that the Prime Minister has this ability to summarize something so beautifully. He encapsulated everything that the scientists had done and achieved so succinctly and beautifully that it really is moving and touching. It was also extremely gracious of him to say that he had called us out early this morning and he kind of did not want to do that. This really speaks of the man, of his feelings, of his commitment. Coming to the Shiv Shakti and the Tiranga point, I think it's beautiful that that these 2 points need to be named, given a name that is Indian, of Indian origin. And as you summarized what Shiv Shakti means, and Tiranga, so appropriate as a kind of covering of, in Hindi you say kafan, for the landing site of the Chandrayaan 2, which will remind us to strive, to go forward. I think it was beautifully said. He also spent a lot of time in talking about what space science has given to this country in terms of education, tele-education, telemedicine, reaching out to every remote corner of this country, resource utilization, agriculture, weather, fisheries, hazard warning. And he said simply the hazard warning itself, which has saved so many lives, will make up for all the money that went into the ISRO budget, not counting anything else. So it is fantastic and so amazing that he thought of denoting August 23rd as a National Space Day. We are so proud. And we should utilize that day in the year to showcase what science can do for a population, how it can bring it out of poverty, how it can take it forward, how it can inspire the children, the next generation. Because progress of any nation is dependent on the next generation. And if they are inspired, they can do wonders. Any younger generation needs people that they have to emulate, things that they would like to emulate. India has been lacking that for a long time. Children have to look up, oh, I want to be an astronaut, oh, I want to be a scientist, oh, I want to be a doctor like so-and-so, like Abdul Kalam, like U.R. Rao, like so many giants that have come before us. And this National Space Day will help us in putting that spirit into these children of the next generation who will carry and propel India forward. With these kind of steps that we have taken now, it is a foregone conclusion, I would say, I have in fact been interacting with some of the children on a regular basis, and I can see the spirit and the enthusiasm and the eagerness in them to, they can't wait to grow up and go out into the world. They want to do things for this nation. So I think it was a beautiful, beautiful, touching speech by the Prime Minister, so gracious, so well said, that we're all indebted to him. And now, like I said before, the onus is on us scientists to take things forward. And I should add that, I work for the Physical Research Laboratory, so I know some of the experiments that we have had. One in particular on the Chandrayaan 2, the solar X-ray monitor, has given fantastic results over the past 4 years. We've published a very large number of papers on new insights that we have gained on observations of the sun in X-rays, which is amazing, and with fantastic support from our director, Professor Anil Bharadwaj. So I have seen with my own eyes that while people at the very top in every of these, we have 13 independent organizations representing ISRO across the country, and the senior people working 12 hours a day there. So obviously, if the leaders work that much, the younger generation, the research scholars, the students are going to be there and put in their very best. And Modi, I think, did a marvelous job today to summarize it all, to give us a pat on the back so graciously and so well said. I have no other words to describe what he has done today. Thank you.
I'd also like to rope in Mr. Manish Purohit to discuss more on this note. Prime Minister Modi had stated something rather interesting. I'm trying to find where I noted it down. Yes, he spoke about the images that were presented of the moon, which were taken by the cameras in Vikram. He was presented with those images by the ISRO chief S. Somnath, and Prime Minister stated that these images highlight Vikram's belief as well as Pragyan's courage. Pragyan has, of course, rolled down the ramp and it's left its imprints and the imprints of our national emblem on the lunar surface till posterity. So what do you make of this? Do you think this is testament to the faith reposed by 1.4 billion people in the scientists of ISRO?
See, what today our Prime Minister has done is, he has brought the whole nation to ISRO. When he was, moving through that road show with the people greeting him and he waving back to them, it was like he was carrying all those emotions, collecting all those emotions to be delivered to ISRO, to make them believe that the country is with them, the country has seen them working hard and making all of us proud. These emotions matter. This motivation matters because, India desperately needs some good role models. As Sir was mentioning, that we now have those role models with us, and today's event that has been done, this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji to ISRO, is a very big step forward, where we are celebrating science and technology in the country, where we are telling the youths of the country, because we have a very huge demographic, and that is youth. So we have huge potential, but still going a bit untapped, because the role models, the big personalities to look at, the glamour, the superstars, we have seen so many of them, and we, youth try to live the life that way. Now, once we have a possibility where we have role models from science and technology, from space exploration, as he said, Jai Vigyan, Jai Anusandhan. So that's really big, because India is aiming to become 5 trillion economy. India is planning in the space economy to capture from 9%, from 2% to go to 9% by 2030, opening up the private sector, making it big in the sector of space. So these things, these small little steps, they create the belief. When a student is watching it, when a small kid is watching it, then a dream will nurture in his in himself, he'll be talking, okay, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a space scientist, I want to do exploration. We have tamed the moon, now next will be the crewed mission. If I'll work hard, if I'll go in the field of science, I may be the next one to represent country. So this is the thing that has to be done for a country like India, because we have huge potential, we have huge talents, we are not lacking in any kind of superior brain capabilities about the, doing the things in a different way. And the best part about it is that the whole world reckons this, that we are the space agency that is frugal in its approach but makes big impact. So see, the whole thing that has happened today, it brings, the first thing, brings the whole country belief, the emotions, it represents that way to the, you give it to the scientists, they deserve it. They have done a lot of hard work, they have done complete for these 4 years, they have been doing, they are improvising on this stuff where they went wrong. Because ISRO has never said that thing that, okay, we didn't do this, it was not our failure. They were ready to accept it. So we need such people who are committed, who have grit, who have perseverance, who are ready to deliver. This is one part. Now, what about the Tiranga point, about the Shiv Shakti point, the names that have been given to the landing site? So see, if we see right now, we are making a comeback. We have been really superpower in our ancient times, but now as a country we are making a comeback, and the naming that point as Tiranga point represents that kind of a feeling that in 2019 we had some tough time, but we had belief on ourselves, and then we have captured that southern polar region. We have become the first country in the world to have soft landing on that particular part of the moon, which has been tried for so many years by different countries, but they have not been able to do that. And we have done it in a budget that can be a big challenge to any other space agency to compare with.
Indeed, you've spoken of our great achievement as well as the budget that we've managed to achieve it under. We have used just $75 million to reach the moon. Yes, viewers, these are the statistics. This is the cost of our Chandrayaan 3 mission. In fact, it is very interesting because certain blockbusters in the United States cost nearly 3 times this amount. On that note, I'd also like to rope in Mr. Srijan Pal, who is the CEO of Homi Lab, another space expert, into the discussion. Well, it seems like there's a connectivity issue at Mr. Pal's end. Meanwhile, I'd like to rope in Mr. K. Siddhartha, a former ISRO scientist, into the discussion. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us on the broadcast this morning. You've heard what the Prime Minister has said. You've perhaps also seen his interactions with the ISRO chairman S. Somnath earlier. We were showing our viewers visuals of the Prime Minister looking at modules of the Chandrayaan, beg your pardon, models of the Chandrayaan 3 modules, and there was a rather engrossing conversation in which the ISRO chairman was explaining the functioning of the different modules to the Prime Minister, following which certain mementos were presented. Back to Mr. Siddhartha, Prime Minister Modi spoke about how the scientists at ISRO with this achievement have inspired a generation of children. So do you think that this will lead to a lot more young, budding, enthusiastic minds interested in joining ISRO in the near future? And what do you see of the space sector in another decade or two?
Well, thank you for this honor. I'll answer this question in a different manner, all in all. See, the entire mission and today's event combined, if you can go to call it, it has been unique, exceptional, unprecedented, wonderful, aura-filled, extraordinary, and unprecedented. As you can go to say it, allow me to say in Hindi, it is Adbhut, Alaukik, Avismarniya, Advitiya, Anutha, Apratyashit, or Asadharan. That's the way you can go to express that part. All in all, this entire mission and the success has been a festival of failure management, a festival of knowledge, a festival of effort, a festival of experience over failure, a festival of science, a festival of spirit, a festival of creativity, and a festival of credibility. India's effort have been an identity assertion. It has been a power assertion. It is a capability assertion and a temperament assertion for the whole of the world to see. And to choose a name, Shakti Shiv, that has been the third time a major event has been ascribed this name. Because for the first time, Princeton University used this name for naming its fusion reactor. That was based on a laser bombardment approach, not tokamak approach. The tokamak approach was named as Aditya, and this was named as Shiv. We found a crater that was hit by a meteorite and which was responsible for an enormous amount of lava pouring, which led to the formation of entire South India Deccan Basalt with Professor Shankar Chatterjee, and that was named as Shiva. This is the third major event that we have named it in such a manner. Now, you think that is with all this type of event, inspiring it one by one in a cascading manner, don't you think, anyone can go to make it up that the youth, the children are going to be galvanized by that? And over and above, what he did was that he said that my government portal is going to be organizing a quiz for the children in the whole of the country. Now, once these children start moving ahead with it, they will come to know about Aryabhat, they will go on to know about Brahmagut, they will come to know about Varamir, they will come to know about all the type of nakshatras, and of course, Pushya Nakshatra, when India was a superpower, and that was when Lord Sri Ram was born. Now, how is it that any Indian can go on to locate all those stars, galaxies, and the constellations and the planets, unless you're going to be having that type of outlook? 5,763 years ago. Now, this has been a spirit. So, Prime Minister has done almost everything to galvanize science in India, and once again, as we can go to call it, we may be falling short of words. It has been unprecedented, unique, exceptional, and extraordinary with aura-filled, wonderful event. Nothing can go to compare India to bind the whole of the nation together. Nothing has taken place which has made India look like a nation with so much amount of bonding ever in the last 75 years other than this event.
Indeed, sir, as you mentioned, it will help galvanize the youth and inspire them even more. I'd like to rope in Dr. Chakravarti into the conversation at this point. Prime Minister Modi also spoke about India's private space sector. He has stated that it has grown at an exponential rate, right from about 4 startups. There are now 150 startups. We had seen a successful launch take place last year. Skyroot had launched their rocket, Vikram rocket, in fact, successfully. And now the private sector in the space realm is also, progressing even further. A lot of key private players are, working towards ensuring their own space launches. So how do you view this avenue, and the progress in this avenue over the next decade or two?
I'm extremely upbeat about this whole thing, where ISRO is actually leading the nation and the world on what the youth can do here. Very literally, it's not just about inspiring them, inspiring the youth and so on, but actually goading the youth to take to action, which means that they can now participate in startups and follow the footsteps of ISRO. And that's very important because usually what we see is that the space technology ecosystem is actually laid out by ISRO in terms of technology development, knowledge building, knowledge sharing, as well as creating a huge supply chain of private companies that can supply parts at a very, very affordable cost to all these startups. So in addition to the quantity that the Prime Minister mentioned in terms of the number of startups that have exponentially grown in the last 5 years, that's been ably enabled by InSpace, that was instituted at the behest of the Prime Minister himself in 2020, actually right in the middle of the COVID pandemic. the quality of what's happening as well is actually something that we need to be looking up to. As you rightly pointed out, Skyroot actually made the first private launch last year. We have had a Pixel launch its satellites. We have Dhruva Space launch its satellites. So we now are looking at rocket launches as well as satellite launches coming out of India in quick succession in the next few years. I can very surely expect this to happen with the number of startups that are leading the pack. It's not just about the number of startups itself, but the number of startups that are leading and doing something very tangibly, and in order to actually rake in the revenues, that is the goal of increasing the space sector's footprint in the world. And definitely we are actually going to make a huge mark in the world's space economy rather than just Indian economy itself. This is the most important point. The second important point is what next beyond this qualitatively for these startups, as ISRO is actually doing Chandrayaan 3, as it's going for Aditya, as it's going for the human space mission, and so on. They are actually increasing the envelope of this technology development in this country. And in the next decade, we can actually see things like space tourism and all of these things happen from the private sector very affordably for the world. So Make in India for the world is actually going to be a huge dream come true, particularly in space technology with the leadership that ISRO is showing for all these startups.
Speaking of Make in India, this is again another point highlighted by Prime Minister Modi in his speech. He mentioned that ISRO helped take the Make in India initiative to the moon itself. On that note, I'd also like to rope in another guest joining us on the broadcast at this point. Ambassador Suresh Goyal, former diplomat, is also joining us on NewsX. Good morning, sir, and thank you to come to this broadcast. Sir, you've heard the Prime Minister speak. He's of course hailed the efforts, the perseverance of the scientists at ISRO, and he's made some really interesting statements towards the end. He has said that India will be a global power, a global leader in science and technology, and this spirit of innovation will help realize the vision of a developed India in 2047. Do you think Chandrayaan 3's success is a testament to India's burgeoning space prowess?
Yes, thank you very much. Indeed, I still remember the moment when lander Vikram touched the surface of the moon. I was actually chairing a lecture on economics at that time in IIC, and we came out to really watch the landing just for a minute. It was a huge moment, really. It is a huge moment, particularly because I come from the background of physics. I did my MSc in physics. I began to do my research in physics, but that was a long time ago, 1975, MSc, till 77, PhD. I was in National Physical Laboratory. And one of the most illustrious physicists, Dr. A.P. Mitra, was my research guide. I'm mentioning that particularly because I find this huge, great transition from the kind of agitation, despondency, unknownness that existed in mid-70s, early 70s for those who were doing research work in physics. I had gone through those 2 years and I didn't know where it was going to lead to. And I think I will speak from the point of view to generate confidence in our physicists, in our scientists, that there is a future for research work and there is a future for innovation in India. And that future has come up over the last many, many decades. It has accelerated over the last decade, etc., as the time goes by. And I'm quite sure that as we go further, it is going to become even faster and faster. But what I would like to speak really here about is the resurgence of initiative, the researcher job, the confidence that yes, we can do it. And we will be able to do it, whether we fail once or we fail twice, but we will not stop and we will do it. So that is the most important point for our scientific community. And that is what I felt that day. When there are several questions coming up as to, you mentioned about Atmanirbhar Bharat. How are you going to link it with our economic aspirations? How are you going to link it up with the aspirations for common people who are basically struggling from day to day? That is not the point. The point really here is that can-do spirit, that we can resolve our issues, we can use our technology, we can use our own thinking power to find solutions from within India. And the Atmanirbhar Bharat is not a question of importing something or not importing something. It's a question of that we can find our own solutions. Obviously, in that process, we will get something from outside, we will develop quite a few things inside, and we will put them all together. But do you know how difficult it is to really put everything together in one common system? We do not know till the end of the day, till the last day, whether that integrated system is going to work or not. So that is the thing I would talk about, the youthfulness, the energy, the sense of being able to do something despite challenges. It doesn't matter whether then you fly to Sun, you fly to Mars. The space tourism, I believe, given the cost, is still too far away. It will take some time. But the question is, our scientific community, our people being able to find their own solution, and that is what Atmanirbharta is all about. I'm sorry I spoke for a long time, but I do feel passionately about this issue. Thank you.
On that note, I'd also like to rope in Professor Padmanabhan, who's been with us since the morning. Sir, there are a lot of other missions in the pipeline at this point. A mission is going to be launched very soon, our mission to probe the sun, the Aditya L1, as well as another mission in the pipeline is our human spaceflight mission, the Gaganyaan. So, of course, India is making a lot of strides. Our ambition and our goals are very lofty, but we have proved, as you said earlier, we have proved our mettle this time. Do you think we'll be able to do so again?
Absolutely. I mean, there is no doubt about it. The nation is now waiting with bated breath for the next big mission, which is Aditya. And this is India's first, what we call, observatory class mission, where a number of instruments, 7 payloads in fact, will all be studying various aspects of the sun. It's not just one instrument looking at the sun. And we'll be going to a point in space which is called the first Lagrangian point of the Sun-Earth system, which is 1.5 million kilometers away from the Earth, and orbiting that point in a orbit that each orbit will take 6 months or so. It's called a halo orbit. So it's a huge mission, and there are so many things that we need to learn about the sun, and we are hoping to accomplish all of that quite successfully with the launch of Aditya, which is expected sometime next month. And then, like you said, there is this human space flight program, the Gaganyaan. We are already testing out reusable launch vehicles. So we are marching ahead with a very good focus and a very good plan. And I'm sure with the kind of support we've had with Chandrayaan, with the whole nation coming behind us, with the Prime Minister standing behind us, it will be the same spirit that propels us forward to Aditya and the human spaceflight mission and reusable launch vehicles, space tourism, and what have you. So we are on an upward climb. The slope is a positive slope, ramping upwards. And I'm sure our scientists will be up to it. And if we are able to ignite young minds, like Professor Abdul Kalam said, then we're not going to have a dearth of young people to attack this problem over the next generation or so.
Indeed.
I have absolute confidence.
Indeed, sir. I'd like to come back to Mr. Manish Purohit. Earlier I was discussing the Indian private space sector with Dr. Chakravarti, and he'd made a lot of points. Where do you see India's private space sector? Where do you see collaborations, in fact, with ISRO, as well as collaborations of ISRO with other countries in the coming few years?
See, right now we have a very good head start. As I told you that we are going to offer a very, affordable space segment for many countries who want to explore space. See, the biggest market for right now is for the low Earth orbit. Maximum launches that we have seen recently in this year were in the low Earth orbit. around maybe some 120 plus launches have been done, and we have a really proven launch vehicle that can do the job for us. Now the thing is, getting the private sector involved in it is required because we have to build the capacity. Building capacity means we have to have launch vehicles that can be assembled, that can be made ready for the launches. If we compare a general comparison, not a very big one, I'm doing a general comparison just to put the things in perspective. SpaceX, if we take, SpaceX is doing around 6 to 7 launches every month, and 6 to 7 launches in a year. There has been a time when 6 to 7 launches in a year has been a big task for ISRO. Now ISRO is, gearing up for all these upcoming challenges. With Chandrayaan 3, we can have a really good head start with our new space policy. If we start working on those aspects where we can pull in private players, we do the technology transfer. We have done for small satellite launch vehicle. We have started doing for small satellites also. So as we are going to build up these capacities, because ISRO has made it very clear that these proven technologies will be handed over to private players so that we can increase the throughput, we can increase the possibilities of bringing more revenue, generating more business for our space segment, for the ISRO's part. So this plays a very vital role. And if we talk about the Gaganyaan and other missions that ISRO is planning, if we look at that aspect, it will be like it is more for the exploratory part. But if you talk about LVM-3, the launch vehicle Mark 3 that took our Chandrayaan 3, it lifted off with Chandrayaan 3. That launch vehicle is doing really good. All the launches have been really successful, and there have been some private players in the space segment which are looking to use our launch vehicle for their upcoming missions. But most of them are crew and cargo missions, and crew and cargo missions means if you are taking a crew on board your launch vehicle, it has to be space qualified. So if we just get quickly through this Gaganyaan thing, and that will be the next big thing on the radar for ISRO for sure, because there is a big market that is waiting for ISRO to capture.
I'd also like to rope in Dr. Chakravarti at this point. Sir, my question will be more focused on the Chandrayaan 3 mission in particular. This mission, the landing has been successful. The rover has traversed about 12 meters on that undulated south pole region of the moon, leaving imprints. But there are a lot of scientific experiments and scientific observations that the community is looking forward to. A lot of in situ experiments are going to be conducted. Little is known about the south pole of the moon. So what do you think we can look forward to? What are certain perspectives that we can look forward to?
There are two aspects to this question. One is the entire technology that was packed into the landing and the rover. Never have I seen so much artificial intelligence packed into a spacecraft in the world. This is actually an out and out 21st century spacecraft, the Chandrayaan lander and the rover. Very cognizant of the kind of lunar landscape that is there. There is a significant amount of obstacle avoidance technology that's being used. There is a significant amount of deep learning algorithms that have been adopted, and computer vision algorithms have been adopted for velocimetry as a redundancy to conventional techniques that have been also packaged into it. All of these things actually give a huge leg up to ISRO as well as other space agencies. In fact, we have set a benchmark on how a spacecraft should actually behave autonomously with a lot of intelligence on board. I think that's going to actually set standards for the rest of the world and also let the startups adopt these technologies, as I mentioned before. And then comes the next question of the scientific payloads. No mission is actually done for national bravado. It's all actually justified based on where should be the landing site selected so that there is a scientific benefit out of it, which is the South Pole. I think all of us are by now understand why the South Pole was selected. And in fact, interestingly, it is actually a direct correlation or a corollary from Chandrayaan 1. So it's very interesting that Chandrayaan 1 discovered water on the South Pole, and we are now going and exploring that particular place. And as a validation, we also found the Russians trying to do the same thing a couple of days before our landing. So the South Pole is definitely getting a lot of attention. And if you think about it, Chandrayaan 1 discovered water, and Luna 25 has been in the works for the last 11 years before it actually unfortunately met with its fate last Monday. So the idea of actually trying to go to the South Pole was kicked in by Chandrayaan 1. That's now been sort of culminated in Chandrayaan 3 and will be taken forward by Chandrayaan 4 in collaboration with JAXA in the next 2 to 3 years. So this is a very consistent effort on part of ISRO to explore this particular location in depth because of the water that's available. Plus, there is a good amount of interest in the lunar geology for a couple of reasons. One is what happens to Earth. The Earth's geology actually is imprinted on lunar geology in a very pristine manner without the vagaries of atmosphere. And then they also actually have these meteoric impacts that create a very, very interesting geological landscape over there with varying gravity in different places and all those things. The moon could actually be explored for the next million years, and you will still not actually have learned enough because it's actually so rich in geological data. If you think about it, what we are doing is actually just scratching the surface from a scientific point of view, but we're also very cognizant. Indian space program is always trying to reap benefits for mankind. And in this case, we are actually going to be cognizant of what is it that we can actually reap benefits out of from this scientific exploration beyond the geological part in terms of like what could be mineral mapping, what's the extent of water that's available, which will actually be carried forward in Chandrayaan 4 as well, around the same region. So this is going to be a extended affair that Chandrayaan 3 has just kickstarted.
Indeed, you spoke of India's collaboration with JAXA regarding the LoopX project in particular, which might be seen realized with our Chandrayaan 4th mission, the successor mission to what has been a historic milestone for our country. On that note, I'd also like to rope in Ambassador Goyal. India has recently signed the Artemis Accords. There are about 27, it was the 27th country to sign these accords. These, of course, present an outline of how space exploration can be conducted responsibly by the signatories of these accords. So what do you think is the future of space exploration? Do you think this opens the field for more collaboration amongst countries in a more systematic manner?
Interesting question. I mean, and I'm going to get away from this in a slightly different manner. Putting in a structure of laws, regulations, rules, etc., in terms of how do you explore the space is always, or how do you actually conduct any kind of international collaboration event, etc., is always very useful. In practice, and I'm saying it with some deliberation really, with a bit of a caution, in practice, however, the international law evolves as countries develop their own capacities and they try to meet their own interests, the country's national interests through the technology, even if it means, in a sense, challenging the international system that exists. The USA has done it in the past. The USSR and the Russian Federation has done it in the past. China is doing it so brazenly because of its own greed. Therefore, yes, having international agreements is useful. But however, I do have a feeling that these things are going to evolve and change and take a new shape as more and more countries enter into the space exploration, particularly those who claim to be more powerful than the others. They will try to have their say. I'm saying that basically now that India is in the field, India is in the space exploration, we must keep a lookout on protecting what we think our interests are, and that interest is the equity between all countries. Space is a global common effort in terms of UN treaties. Artemis as well as Moon Treaty and the other space treaties. It's a global common. But just like any other global common, like Antarctica, it is quite possible to exploit those ideas. So I think India as a country, which now has international prestige, international status, should keep a watch over how things are happening and protect that global common as, as a heritage, as a property for all humanity, not just one country or the other. It's a politically loaded statement, but important one. Yes.
What you've stated right now regarding protecting this global common has also been highlighted in this. There is one clause which talks about preservation of heritage, where the signatories are expected to preserve historic landing sites, artifacts, as well as evidence of activity on celestial bodies. Remember, viewers, this is of course a non-binding accord. I'd like to come back to Professor Padmanabhan on this note. Sir, there's something rather interesting that you also spoke, highlighted towards the end of one of your answers when we were discussing PM Modi's speech. You spoke of the National Space Day. Now, this is of course a historic and milestone moment, not just for India, but for humanity. How do you think this will help sort of encourage and make our scientists as well as young budding minds more enthusiastic, and how do you think they will look forward to celebrating this day in the future?
See, this is when you designate a particular day as a National Space Day, okay, it is going to make a huge difference, because we have an opportunity then to throw open our institutes in a form of open houses, which we are anyway doing in February to mark National Science Day. And I have seen children pouring in to PRL from all parts of the country when we have an open house. And the curiosity that fills them, the excitement that fills them, they want to know in simple language, what are the experiments that you're doing? Why are you doing those things? And the energy is contagious. So if you have a National Space Day and you give scientists an opportunity to explain to the people from our rural areas, from all the schools and colleges in the country, this will change the way children think, the way they go forward in life. It will make a sea change to this country. Okay? Through this whole process of the Chandrayaan landing and things, the intricate details in simple language of the experiments we are carrying out and why we are carrying them out is not yet known in general. People would like to know that. Okay, you're doing this particular experiment. Why are you doing it? What are the implications of learning that? Why should we be doing it? These are automatic questions. And I think every child in the country, every youngster in the country should know about every experiment carried out so far in space by the Indian effort, Chandrayaan 1, Chandrayaan 2, the Mangalyaan. What is it that we are trying to do? Why do we need to explore? And also, it's very important to keep in mind, reminds me of a small article I read about an American astronaut orbiting in space. He was from Texas, so on his first orbit around the Earth, he was waiting for America to come up. And he was very excited. And then in next orbit, an orbit lasts only 1.5 hours. He's looking for Texas, where he was born and brought up. And by the third orbit, it strikes him very powerfully. He says that he's no longer, it strikes him like he is not here as an American or a Texan. He is representing mankind when he is in space. Okay? There are no boundaries. When you look at the Earth from space, there are no boundaries. It's one unit. And he writes about how he can see the forest fires destroying our Mother Earth, how he can see the red soil of Madagascar bleeding out into the ocean like an arterial bleed. These things make an impact. We have to convey the beauty of this to the children, and the fact that we have only one planet, one home. We have nowhere else to go. So we have to change our way of life to preserve what is left for the future generations. Otherwise, what are we handing over to the future generations? Nothing. So we have to preserve our forests, we have to preserve our natural resources. We have to live within our means, and only technology and science can help you do that. And anything that is done by science in any part of the world uplifts humanity, not just that country. Okay. So I think this will be a great, great opportunity for the nation. Every part of the country, every scientific institution or university can showcase National Space Day, can give lectures to children about the importance, can talk about all the giants who have come in India, like, Baba, Sarabhai, U.R. Rao, Yashpal, so many people. And that, I think, is an opportunity we should grab. And we're so thankful to the Prime Minister for having designated this day. This will be yet another day that we can use to talk about the science we do in simple language to the children and ignite young minds.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.